Hi, everybody. Make rocket ship go now. I am Robert Ogilvy, Executive EQ Coach, and thank you for joining me for another Leadership Lunchtime live stream. It's lunchtime somewhere. It's just past 2 in the afternoon Atlantic time. Okay, so what's going on with my time count? Are we are we going? It's just a little bit laggy. What's happening right now? I think we just started. Okay, sorry, it seems to be a bit laggy. Make rocket ship go now. Hi, I'm Robert Ogilvy, Executive EQ Coach. Glad you guys could join me today. So, what are we talking about today? Missions. Why are they important? Why are they important? And why is it important to actually change them over time? Okay, so let's dig into this stuff, right? Um, I think a lot of us are experienced enough to see past the zeal of just like, we need more than just kind of goal setting to be successful. That's part of a much larger puzzle. But that starts to tap into like, why is this stuff useful, or um, like how does it help steer our actions or focus us towards something? Okay, so one thing I'm going to bring up first is that why is it important to start thinking? Yes, you're good. Okay, great. Someone's watching. Fantastic. Thank you. First of all, what's one obvious reason why having a mission is important? Well, because you've thought about it, you've premeditated it, you've been thinking on a model, you now have a mental model to work from, which allows you to discern what's useful for your purposes, what's worthwhile, what should you be paying attention to, right? And that itself, dramatically increases the chance that you're going to find what you're looking for, that you know what is and isn't useful. And then that secondarily means you're not just that you have a goal and you know what would help you do that, but it means that you know how to prioritize decisions. And so often when we're talking about a team or business organizational context, that's really the value of the mission, right? It's not just what detail should I spot. It's like, listen, when faced with a series of choices, what's the right friggin' answer here, right? And if you have a good mission, that's helping lay out those priorities to say, great, this is what you're trying to optimize for, right? And that's super useful. In fact, I would say a strategy that doesn't do that, a mission that doesn't do that is rather anemic, right? And so you could imagine that um, some of you may have been through kind of retreat or offsite kind of situations where you're thinking through some of this, and it might feel like you're tapping into your values, which you probably are. But if that's not clear enough how you're going to operationalize that in the world, it's all rather useless, right? And you can see that too in that if it gets so flowery that a company from one industry and another all start sounding like they have the same mission, and it's something about big purpose of helping others in the community, but in some unqualified way, and the best customer service and the best this and the best that ever, without at all dealing with what their target market is like and how they're dealing with that. It's like, well, this is all rather unoperationalizable. This doesn't help me execute and make better decisions, right? This doesn't help me know what I'm going towards. So that's one of the obvious utility of a good mission, right? It's clear enough that it helps us say, okay, this is what we're going after. In fact, this naturally comes out in the six team conditions. This would all be on the one that's compelling purpose, right? So it's looking at how clear is the mission you're dealing with. Is it compelling and interesting and motivating? Is it mobilizing to the people you're dealing with? And is it consequential? Is it worthwhile? Which implicitly in a business sense, it's like, is there a business case reason why we should give a damn about this? Right? Is there some impact reason? Or often I would say that's a good indicator of is what you're doing kind of a profession or a hobby, right? And if you can't make some threshold of enough money at it, it inherently is a hobby, right? I think there's lots of us that have hobby things that we do that we wish were that we could have more of in our life, but hopefully we've set good boundaries around that, and that's not the case, right? Whereas I think we've probably also met people which, and maybe it's I think athletes experience this at a young age when they realize they're really good at something and they like it, but they're not going to be the next NBA star or whatever, but they have lots of other gifts, so they have to explore other career paths, right? They couldn't make a living at that. Or there's lots of other things that we would like to do. I remember talking to one young lady once, and she loved dealing with kids, and she was very creative, and she would do like face painting at like fairs and things, right? Like that's great, but she could spend a whole morning doing that, and not even make $100, right? And then you start doing the math, and could I make a career of this? No, of course you can't. It's not it's not consequential enough. It's not impactful enough, right? So that's part of the utility of this. Um, in that way, I would say the real magic about how good is your mission is how well can it bring together practical goal setting and priorities with things that are motivating to you, right? And ultimately, we want both of those. Um, the point being, if we're going after goals which are incredibly demotivating towards us, it drains us. And the opposite, if we're going towards things that are really motivating towards us, but the goals are not practical or worth doing, they don't relate to some outcome. Um, it's not just that it's unsustainable, but I would often say it's kind of escapist, right? It's like, why are you really doing this? To have fun, to escape in some way. Um, Very normal everyday people can have these, I would say, escapist fantasies where there are parts of how they like to vacation, how they like to have fun, and they just think, geez, if I could do that cranked up to 10, I wish that was my whole life, right? And it's like, well, that might be an interesting thought, but you probably wouldn't be that interested in having that. I'm sure we'd all like to take an extra week or month of vacation, right? Like those would be great things. And honestly, I think with the uh, chaotic nature of our economy, we need to get more used to that up and down. There are times when we're really switched on and we're doing a lot of work and very productive, and there are times when we're really switched off and really decompressing and getting out of a set of work habits, right? Which is partly to recharge and to get ready for the next set of cool work. But we actually can't and really shouldn't stay there. It's not to our benefit. So one of the challenges of, I would say, of modern life and the kind of flux of work and livelihood more than ever is trying to find a way. Listen, can my mission bring together my goals and my motivation? Um, there is one other term you may have heard me use in some other videos, which is that of the 8 EQ competencies, one of them is called noble purpose, pursuing noble goals. And that is a question of what is this big, impactful thing that you are in service of, and how much on a daily level can you weave um, that big service impact, that big legacy impact into your day-to-day life, right? And that feels very different than intrinsic motivation, which is around your grit and your goal setting. And then lots of other things that tactically you're going to use on a day-to-day level, right? There's a few strands that come together to compose your drive, but noble purpose is really the underutilized one, or at least for most professionals. That's part of the magic of what we're doing. The other thing I want to say about missions is that we do need to change them over time, right? And so here's why. And from a mental model standpoint, we know that practice is better because it helps keep it top of mind, helps keep it fresh, so that we can spot those details and make those priority decisions. But remember, they were all missions. Those models are born out of a certain need in a certain context, which means over time they need to evolve and change, and they might evolve bit by bit, or there might be times when we really need to drastically rethink them, right? And that's important as well. So there's a famous military saying that something like, strategy, battle plans don't survive first contact with the enemy, right? So there's something about your goals, there's something about your mission which should be high level enough, strat level enough that you have enough opportunity to operationally kind of execute it in different ways, achieve it in different ways. That's actually a manifestation of your cognitive flexibility, your psychological flexibility coming out, right? Because one of the facets is in knowing what your ideals are, what are the different behavioral ways that could come out, right? And that's actually part of the beauty of managing your career, managing what kind of work you want to take on, managing how you want to use your skills in the world, right? These are all part of why missions are important. So you could see both how someone might want to be reminded of missions on a weekly or even a daily basis, of the things that drive them, and touch base with that. But you could also see how people would want to, in more the blue work end of things, reflect on, is this mission relevant? Is it still relevant? How does it need to evolve? Do I need to totally check it out? Do some of the elements need to change? And those are both good, right? As long as you're putting conscious effort and reflection into it, whatever outcome you arrive at is good, right? It means you're more thoughtful about what's worth doing. Because again, we want good goals that are worth pursuing, and we want good motivation, right? We're always grappling with those. So that's why missions are important. And that's why they're also important to change and evolve over time. We don't want to get stuck in old models of the past which don't serve us and don't serve our needs and don't serve the people around us. So I'm Robert Ogilvy, Executive EQ Coach. I hope you guys learned something. I'll see you